Hello, Sara Blecher. I hope I pronounce it rightly because I didn't know how to pronounce your name because it's a German name.
It's Sara Blecher, so perfect.
Okay,
So, yeah.
okay, very good. So you are a South African filmmaker, and you have done quite a. Is Ayanda your first film, or have you done other films as well before?
No, it's not my first film. I've been working in film and television in South Africa for about 20 years. I started off making documentaries, and then television drama, and now feature films.
Okay, and Ayanda, the film has a very strong woman in the front, and I will ask you, how did you find this woman for your film?
You know, I have a daughter. In fact, I have two daughters, one a bit older now. But when my older daughter was 15, we went to the cinema and we saw, it was an American movie, I think it was a Canadian movie called Juno. And when we walked into the cinema and watched the film, then we came out. And I realized that my daughter, when she walked in, watched the film, the person that came outside was different. And that movie, I mean, just the experience of watching that movie and watching a strong, creative young girl that she could relate to, it gave her permission to be what she wanted to be in her life. You know, before she felt like she needed to be like the other girls, she needs to follow. And that film gave her permission to be something, to be herself. And to be honest, it made me understand the power of film, that experience. And for years, I've wanted to make a film that gives the same gift to South African women that my daughter got when she watched that film. I wanted to make a film about a young girl who's creative, you know, and who explores her life and engages with her relationships the way that people do. Because that isn't the portrayal that we see, and it particularly isn't the portrayal we see of young African girls.
So it's not in the reality of the African society then that young people or young women or young girls are really strong and can stand their life by themselves.
No, it is the reality.
Oh, it is.
But it isn't what they see on screen.
Ah, okay.
You know what I mean? There are so many fantastic young South African girls that are like Ayanda. I mean, there's so many. But it's not what we're creating as the role models for our children. And that's what I wanted to do. When you sit in a cinema and you watch on a huge big screen, you become that person.
Yeah.
And then it means it's possible to be that person. And that's what I tried to do with this movie.
And it is like the normal film doesn't show strong young woman because the most of the films are done from men. Is that the reason for it?
I think that's the reason, and I think it's also you get in a habit of, if you look at the portrayal of women in African movies, they're either bitches and horrible, or they're prostitutes. Yeah. You know, there's no creative women who are pursuing creativity and pursuing a life with meaning. And it's so rare to see a character like that in an African film, and it made me angry. You know, because it's not portraying the reality, and it's also creating role models for young girls that are so limited. You know, we have to give our daughters possibilities in life, because that allows them to live those things. And so, yeah, I made the film.
Yeah, I liked your film very much. I have seen it already, and it is also a very good composition from acting and from the aesthetic of the movie and of the screens, and also from the music. You have a really good music at the film, and I would like to ask you how you have found this musician, or have the done the music especially for the film, or have you took already music who is already here?
It's a combination. So we worked with a really young, fantastic South African composer. In fact, he's not South African, he's actually from Mozambique. His name is Tiago, he composes for film, and he did the music. Included in that, we also used musicians that already exist. Almost all of them, are female singers. There's a woman who sings a lot of the music. Her name is Alice Fibilu. She's a South African. In fact, she's a South African who got famous busking on the streets in Berlin. So she would play on the streets in Berlin, and she became very famous. Now she did a huge big TED talk, and now she plays around the world. She's really fantastic. So I wanted to give a woman's voice through the music. So together with Tiago, we went and sourced music that we felt worked for the character.
Yeah.
That spoke to who the character of Ayanda is.
And you're also a member of SWIFT. Can you tell us something about SWIFT? What is the meaning of SWIFT? What the decision of SWIFT?
Yeah. So SWIFT is Sisters Working in Film and Television. And it's the first African organization of women working in film and television. So about 2 years ago at the big film festival in South Africa, the opening night film, there was a big controversy because one of the directors was accused of sexually molesting and assaulting a number of women. So at the festival, there was a big discussion about sexual harassment and the problem with sexual harassment in South Africa. And a group of women got together and decided we need to set up an organization that can address the issues of women. And at that point, we made a very clear decision not to become part of the World Organization of Women in Film, because we realized very quickly that the circumstances that women face in South Africa, and in Africa, to be perfectly honest, is very different than the circumstances that women face in Europe. We're much behind, and the levels of violence against women in our country are the highest in the world. So that level of violence against women is mirrored in our industry. When we've done research, we find that there's so much problems relating to assault and violence and harassment of women. In fact, most women in South Africa don't even know when they're being harassed. It's normalized. It's what they expect. They don't know that it's the wrong thing. And so we realized that unlike the other women in film organizations around the world, we had to start with those issues. We want to get to a place where we can start talking about pay parity, and women earning as much as men for equal work. But we have more work to do before we can get there. And so SWIFT was launched a year ago with the aim of being a platform for women, being a place where women could come together, network, talk to each other, discuss how we were in the industry, discuss how to bring more women into the industry, what's the problem women face getting into the industry, but also to focus on trying to make the industry safe. The research that we did found that 70% of the women who work in this industry in South Africa, and there are many of us, don't feel safe going to work every day. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's really horrible. Yeah.
70% don't feel safe when they go to work in the morning. And, it's something that we have to address. Nobody's going to come and change that situation for us. Sembene, who is one of the most famous African filmmakers, he said that if you want to change anything, you need to get the women involved. And I think that's such a fascinating thing that's happened, because with the creation of SWIFT, we've been doing all this work. But also, like, our presence in Berlin for the Berlin Film Festival and Market is also helping to put African film on the map. So, we were formed to do one thing, but once you get women involved,
They move forward.
They move forward.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's, it's been so exciting this week in Berlin to be part of that and to see that happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. That's very fun. But you told me before that you're also working with children.
Yeah. So one of the campaigns that we are doing as SWIFT is a campaign to educate people about what sexual harassment is. And in that campaign, we get people to write us stories of something that happened to them that made them uncomfortable. And then as a training program, together with them and with experienced filmmakers who are donating their time, we make little PSA, public service announcements that get broadcast on TV that show a scenario, and then at the end it says #that's not okay. And it's just trying to educate people to understand when they are being sexually harassed.
Yes, to get the feeling for it. Because you told before that the women even doesn't know that they get harassed about sexual
Harassment.
misunderstandings.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
So you have, I think that networks us together, because also here people, women think it's usual, sometimes in a job to get a higher position, to stand the sexual harassments.
Definitely.
And I think that one combines us together, that we are all women in the world, we have to network together, that this kind of being is not longer normal.
Definitely. And the thing that we found here is the sisterhood is across the world.
Yeah.
It's when the women stand up and say #MeToo, and everybody stands up, it brings everybody up together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even us sitting in Africa, we're looking at what's going on in America, and we're looking at what's going on in Europe, and we're saying, look what they're saying. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
It was also one of the things why I choose the title of the Frauenfilmtage Wales of Black Women, because I think we don't know a lot about Africa. We know a lot about TV or about the news, but the most of the news are bad news and not very good news. I think that's also that we feel better in Europe. I don't know why, but we only get mostly bad news from Africa. So thank you that you have shown me that there's another Africa too. I believe in it, and thank you for doing the interview with me, and I wish you a very, very good time and a very strongness for all what you're doing.
Thank you very much, and thank you, and enjoy the film.
Thank you.